everybody, and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Welcome back to episode 174 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast. Hope everyone's weekend is going swimmingly. Mine has been quite interesting, at least as of today. But as you can tell from the title, there's a couple things for us to talk about. Firstly, I'm back at school. Back to school to prove to dad that I'm not a fool, in the words of the wise Billy Madison. But yes, indeed, our first full day with students was on Friday, and it went pretty well for the most part, with the biggest problem being, of course, the fact that because of various policies within our diocese, within our county, within our state, we, of course, have to wear masks in there, as do the students. And students might be okay, sitting down and being able to relax in that way, not have to talk all that much for the most part. But as a teacher, having to be in front of said students and talk for the vast majority of an hour-plus long period, I found myself getting winded very, very, very quickly, and by the end of the day, felt absolutely awful. And I don't know if that's just because of the lack of oxygen, if just my body is just not used to that, which I'm assuming might be a part of the equation, or if it's just the fact that I'm doing something I've never had to really do before in general, and maybe it's going to take a few times before my body gets used to it. I don't really know which one, but either way, it was not fun. It was not fun at all. Again, it was very difficult to breathe. Could have been the material of the mask I was using. Could have been a wide variety of things, but this coming week is going to be the real test because we'll have a full week of classes, a full week of school. And I was actually lucky on my first day because my last period was an off period. So I was able to do 4 and then pretty much get to chill for a little bit. But it was pretty crazy just with that, one-way hallways, all that kind of stuff. But the kids were great for the most part. No real major issues, no major problems so far, which is always a good thing to have. It's always a good thing to see. I was able to have some of the people who are seniors this year, who had students last year, come back and say hi, and that was really nice to see too. And it's just going to be interesting. All of us there right now as teachers, and even the students, right? We're all in this together. We're all doing and having to put up with the same thing. And it's been kind of, crazy in that way because we've had to change so many things. We have to live stream to certain students that want to stay home. Again, that's an option that they were given. It's something that we had to accommodate to. And then there's other students where they are in other parts of the world, and we have to accommodate for that as well. So it's pretty amazing to see all these things happen, and we're learning on the fly pretty much. We did have some training. We did have some meetings prior to classes starting to get us ready for it, but when it comes to situations like this, are you ever really ready when it's the first time in your life that you're actually doing it? And I would say that a lot of us are definitely going to be learning for these next few weeks. And hopefully, because of the measures that we're taking, we don't have an outbreak in cases, and we are able to stay open and not have to close down for any extended period of time. But let's go ahead and say hello to everyone that is in the chat before jumping into anything else. And so the first person I saw over on DLive was Philly the Hobbit. What's going on, Philly the Hobbit? Glad to see you here. Mr. Peabody was over there. Captain Mr. Roy, how is it going? Adam Frank and the Clan, hello to you, good sir. How is it going? And that is everyone that's over on DLive as of right now. So thank you very much for my DLive fam, my DLive community being over there. And then over on YouTube, I do have some notifications from the last few days because it's been about 7 days since the last stream. It's been a while because obviously on Tuesday we had to cancel the stream because Freya and I had to go to one of the classes in preparation for the birth of baby Thor, rather. And it was very insightful. Again, went very well. And haven't done a stream since, really. In fact, the last stream I did was just last night's Friday Night Tights. So it's good to be back. It's good to be back on the main channel. And I really haven't done a whole lot of videos this week for the main channel. And I'm sorry about that. I've definitely fallen behind on the daily videos. But as you all know, again, just going through various things. And it's something that it has just been very... yeah, just there's been a lot of stuff going on, and it's been harder to find not just motivation, but also I get home from school, and now it's that time of, I just want to sit down and relax and, have some time to detox and watch some stuff. And we'll actually watch and binge watch the entire first season of The Boys, and for the most part enjoyed it. I definitely think that there was way too much excessive nudity, things like that, but the show itself, writing-wise, for the most part, had some really good things in there, so I got to watch all of that. Got to finish up Umbrella Academy Season 2 with the wife as well. Great writing in that. Also some really bad writing in that because they got way caught up in the 60s. And we talked about that a little bit last night on Friday Night Tights. So anyway, it's been a while, and I've been keeping busy both in detoxing, watching stuff, and also in doing the work that is required of me when it comes to just the simple everyday life of a teacher. But anyway, it's let's see what we got. We got Christopher Barat, who thank you for subscribing 4 days ago. Giggy Lizzie, thanks for becoming a member. Oscar Meyer, thank you for becoming a member. Canceled Venom renewed the membership. Bruce as a member as well. Adam Avery renewed as a member. Lord Toth as a member. Sporky News Podcast was a member. And now, recently, this just happened about a minute ago. Fat Steven Seagal beat up Ryan Johnson. Thank you very much for becoming a member at the Citizen of Asgard level. Thank you very much, good sir, for that support. And if you want to see the origin story of Fat Steven Seagal beats up Ryan Johnson, our boy Perry Chan, I believe, was the one that did it, has a video explaining the origins of it on his channel. Perry Chan is an awesome YouTuber. He's been doing a lot of our videos for Friday Night Tights, and he is always just doing magic. But anyway, over on YouTube, Mr. Peabody, who is a member over there as well, was saying, good morning, good morning. Yes, indeed, it is around 7 a.m. in the morning where Mr. Peabody is on a Sunday. Orange Eye Reviews, who's a member, what's going on? Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, how is it going? Orange Eye Reviews says, do I have some thoughts on Mulan idea? One of them being that's way too expensive. Now, if it means we can watch it forever, still too expensive. Yeah, Orange Chat, I've seen a lot of your comments on it on Twitter. So I think I have an idea of the things that you would probably put down about it. And yeah, I mean, especially behind a paywall. And it's not something that you'd be able to own, by the way. It's going to be a rental. The mindset is, and again, this is the corporate mindset, and it's a mindset that anyone defending it's going to use is, oh, well, when you think about it, if you have a bunch of people over, then theoretically it could cost less than a movie ticket. Or if you have a big family and you would have gone to the theater anyway, then $30 really isn't all that much. And that's the mindset that Disney's going to use. That's the mindset that anyone defending the model is going to use. And again, some of them might be in good faith saying, well, this is the logic behind it. And then you have people like me saying, whoa. First off, you're making me pay at least $7 for the subscription for the month, and then you're going to make me pay $30 extra on top of that for a movie that I'm only going to be able to watch over a 48-hour period. Again, you're only going to be able to access it, I'm assuming, over that rental period, because, as I said, they're not selling anything like that as far as it being just released for $30. I would like them to, if they, again, any company or studio, if they would like to start doing Blu-ray DVD releases on the same day of their opening in theaters, I'd be, hey, you know what? See how that goes, but that is not what's going on here. G-Monkey76 is in the chat. What's going on? Golden Ration. What's going on? Thomas Gilkey's in the chat. Robert Frey. How's it going? Tina B in the chat. Thank you very much, Tina B, for being here and for laying down the smack it down. Stephanie B should be in the chat a little bit, but of course, I believe she is on the road. So Stephanie B, if you're listening, please make sure you're paying attention to the road. But we do have our Empress of the Universe, Tina B, in the chat. Rob D is here. Robert Frey. I'm not sure if I shouted you out yet. But thank you for being here. JKD Buck 76, what's going on? Henry Ewok is in the chat. It's Trap Productions. Greetings to you, my court jester. Glad to see you here. Soul Assassin is in the chat as well. How is it going? How is it going, Soul Assassin? Let's see where we left off. Ba-da-bum. As we already have a lot of questions, and as you can see, again, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mulan news because it's pretty big when it comes to how movie studios are handling the pandemic and handling theaters not being closed and being unsure of when they're going to reopen. And guess what? Movie studios, the only reason why they're not sure of when they can reopen is because you keep moving your release dates. But hey, that's I guess that's just something that they don't want to admit to themselves and don't want to take responsibility for, which makes total sense to me when it comes to talking about the movie studios as such. So, Kiko Rogers, what's going on? Welcome back to the chat. Glad to see you here. Interdraft Productions tagged me and says, "Greetings, my lord. Greetings, good sir." JKD Buck tagged and said, hello to you. Alex McCarthy, who's a member of the channel, says, "Howdy, Odin. How's it going?" Open forum, I no longer give a dang about RIPD. Well, that is good to hear, because that is the way it should be, because RIPD is hot garbage. So I'm glad that you finally come to the life on that. Yes, open forum is going to be one of the things that's going to be a part of the discussion. However, if you do have an open forum question, I would wait until after we have a further discussion on the Disney Mulan idea before moving into that would be the best. Kika Rogers said, "Did you catch the penguin?" Don't know what that's a reference to. Soul Assassin says, "So is it Mr. Odin or Mr.?" Definitely more so Mr. Odin. Andrew Hoyle says, "My wife is a teacher, but she's still enjoying some time off as she's not back until next month." Yeah, I know a lot of schools have put things off until after Labor Day, starting early September. So we're starting now. We're not getting a fall break. We're getting random days off every month, things like that, to try and keep us a little sane, since we're not getting that fall break that we normally get. And instead, we're working all the way through till Thanksgiving. And then once Thanksgiving's over, we have a week of online learning, online classes, and then we get about a month off for Christmas. So in the end, I think it's going to end up working out better for us overall. And if things line up perfectly, if things line up the way that we hope they do, they'll line up with the end of my wife's, hopefully, again, if everything goes according to plan, the end of her maternity leave, which would be a great time for me, because then I would be able to take over while she goes back to work. Anyway, Zachariah315 says, "Howdy." JKD Buck says, "Do you wear a Bane mask, and do you sound like him when you talk?" No, I do not wear the Bane mask. Something tells me that, one, that would not be seen as appropriate to wear as a teacher, and two, it's also probably something that is not very breathable, I can imagine, more so than what I'm already having to wear. General Wingster says, "Odin gotta run. Can't stay, but I want to say this. If you haven't already, get Ghost of Tsushima, you massive. Excellent story, combat, and world exploration. Also have fun at school." Well, thank you, General Wingster. Yeah, I've thought about it, and, for me, I'm a casual guy. I'm a casual gamer. I've seen the entire gameplay of it, and it looks fantastic. I got to see PewDiePie's entire playthrough, and it looks like so much fun. It's a game that I probably will pick up when it's on sale. So it's going to go on sale at some point eventually. It's probably going to be one of the top, it is already one of the best-selling games of the year. I imagine it'll probably get some awards or some nominations for Game of the Year. And so it's going to probably get some discounts. And once it does, I will definitely try to pick that up, since it's probably one of the last real major titles that's going to get released on PS4 before the PS5 comes out. Jacob Juice, thank you very much 3 minutes ago for the 5. I always never remember whether it's the euro or the pound, but anyway, Jacob Juice, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, "Dear Odin, how are you doing, sir? Is everything going well at work and home? Hope you're doing well. That's more important. Best, Jacob from Holland." Well, thank you very much, Jacob Juice. Always so very, very polite in your questions, man. So thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the support. Yeah, everything for the most part is actually going well. Again, work is work. There's always going to be those ups and those downs. This year, of course, the real cogs, the real wrenches in the cogs of the machine is the fact that we have to wear masks the entire time while we're teaching. So while we're giving lectures, which for me has been very difficult as far as being able to breathe, because I'm having to project more to make sure that I can be heard clearly behind the mask. There's some students that are at home that are watching on a live stream from a computer, so it makes it even more so to the fact. And just in general, right? I move a lot when I teach. I try and walk around the classroom. I'm more dynamic in that way, and I use my hands a lot. And so, yeah, it's something that it's already something where I use a lot of energy in a given day. But the mask, with having to, breathe back in more carbon dioxide than not, or not get as much oxygen in on each breath, it's leaving an impact. Because as I say, by the end of the day, I feel, it's almost like I feel sick. I start getting a headache. I start just feeling like really cruddy. And then as soon as I'm home and I get to take a little bit of, some Tylenol, I feel great, right? Because I'm breathing normal. But even after, I can still feel like there's this, it's almost like a weight in my lungs, because I've been having to work harder than I normally would to breathe, during a lesson, during a lecture. So yeah, it's been tough as far as that is concerned. And home has been fine. Jacob Juice, actually, again, wife is doing great, baby is doing great. But today, as I mentioned, we had some stuff happen today. Basically, I can't go into too much detail because we really don't know everything about it, but it was a very odd situation where essentially the house across from us got shot. We heard around 6 or 7 shots go off, and we only heard it. Apparently, we had a neighbor that was outside who claims to have actually seen everything take place and confirmed that it was, in fact, that happening. So the one cop actually came by and took statements and tried to knock on their door to find out if everyone was okay, etc. But apparently they, even though there were 3 cars in front of their house, didn't want to come out or something, and there was nothing he could do. So he just ended up leaving. So it was this weird situation where it's like, wait a minute, something just happened. That's dangerous. That's freaking out. Like, that's freaking us out. And then the cop just leaves. It was very odd, very bizarre. I'm sure that there's something as far as the legal system goes that was like tying his hands, keeping him from being able to do anything else. But all I want to say, just to make it clear, though, is we're fine. So me and Freya are fine. The pups are fine. All of our neighbors are fine, too. In fact, one benefit was that we actually got to meet all of our neighbors, most of whom we were meeting for the first time. So all of us were able to get together and, talk about what we heard and what we had, because some of them had, cameras that caught just little bits of what had happened. And yeah, it was crazy. So I imagine and hope that we get some more police presence in the community in the next couple of days to further investigate and find out what's going on. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. But Jacob Juice, thank you for asking, man. All right, back to the chat. Rob D at 701 said, "Hey, Odin, do you think Disney is already considering Mulan to be a loss? I don't know about you, but $30 to rent tells me they have little faith in the movie." Well, Rob D, I would... Some people might try and take that point. I wouldn't. The reason why is because they know that there are probably thousands of people, and I think I'm being fair in that estimate, that are going to spend that $30. And their mindset is, okay, so those are people that are going to spend money on the movie anyway. It's guaranteed $30, and guess what? It's being purchased on Disney Plus, which means it's going directly to Disney. So there is no middleman. Then they don't have to split that $30 with anyone. So Disney is more so looking at that as bonus revenue, because what else are they doing? At the same time, they are also releasing it in select markets. And so those markets, of course, are going to be mostly overseas markets, international markets, which is where Disney has been trying to make a play even before the pandemic hit. And so they're going to get money from that, but they have to split the money they get from theaters in those international markets. They don't have to get that split at Disney Plus. So I think their mindset is that they think the lack of people going to movies, right, that there is still this skepticism as far as people not feeling fully comfortable to go to a theater, that because of that, they can make that up somehow with this $30 rental. Now, what I think is hilarious is that they have since confirmed that this is supposed to be a quote-unquote one and done. But we obviously know that's not the truth, because if this, for instance, has a huge success for them and does very well, and they make more than they expected, and more people end up spending the $30 to rent it than what they had maybe projected, or their subscribers at least go up during that time period, hey, you could see them potentially try that with other films in the future, right? And there's other things going on with that too, because there was a judge recently who laid down a ruling that essentially has now moved basically the goalposts that much closer together, or has taken one more step further towards movie studios being able to own theaters again. So for those that are not aware, there was a time when the studios would own every single means of production. So they would actually own the production, the actual distribution, right? So not just making the movie, but actually sending the movie out. And then also they owned what is known as the exhibition, which is what we call the movie theaters. And at one point of time, rightly so, that was called out to be a monopoly. And so they were broken up. And so the theaters ended up becoming independent, and it ended up changing the way that the studio dynamic worked. Well, apparently there are now cases, or at least one case, that has seemingly made it now more possible, or it has at least opened the door to a larger possibility that you could see studios get further involved in theaters. In fact, as far as that goes, possibly even owning theaters or running theaters or having a stronger relationship there. And if that happens, when you have giant companies like AMC and Regal and Cinemark struggling because of the pandemic, and them possibly, fighting the studios because the studios are going to want to have those shorter windows, right, of having their theater only, or rather their movie only in theaters, and trying to get it onto demand faster, that you could potentially see theater chains get really hit hard when they have to run at full capacity and only get 20 to 30% of the normal business that they're used to. And maybe Disney tries to make a move. And if, again, the legal side of it opens up for them to do so, could end up being better for them in the long run. But yeah, Rob D, again, that is, of course, one of the other things I wanted to talk about is the fact that Mulan and Disney Plus and Disney is that first company to do that. It's the first company to, behind a paywall, right, behind a subscription service, say, hey, if you want to have access to this brand new movie, you have to spend this amount of money, right? Some people would say, well, Amazon's done it for a long... No. Amazon has said, okay, we offer some things for free, but some things you can rent, some things you can buy. Sometimes it can be... And again, if you ever are buying something, normally you're buying it to own it, not buying it to rent it. And it's normally not a new movie unless it's a movie that's going straight to the demand services and not to theaters or anything else, right? And so this is really unprecedented, and that's why I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Disney, because if this is successful, be on the lookout for places like HBO Max and other services like Netflix and other studios that maybe don't have their streaming services or need to work on them, like Peacock, dear Lord, right? Some of them need a lot of work. If this works for Disney, if this results in huge money, right, raw profits, because they don't share that $30 that anyone spends on Mulan with anyone else like they would if they show something in theaters, or if they have to show overseas, or if they are going on demand for iTunes or Google Play, right? They share revenue with those different services. It's all in-house. It's all completely owned by them. And so therefore it's complete and utter raw profits, raw gains. And the interesting thing too about that is going to be, how is it tracked? Because I don't think Disney is going to have to report how much money they make in a weekend on Disney Plus. So they can put whatever metric out there they want. They can say, oh, we gained this percentage of subscribers on this weekend, or, oh, this is the most successful movie on demand ever because of X amount, right? They don't have to actually say how many individual persons rented the movie. So because of that, it's going to be very hard then to track box office revenue, right? Because it is also still getting theatrically released overseas in certain markets that are open. And eventually it's going to get a U.S. release too. And so they expect to make some money from that, from families that want to go see the movie in theaters. So yeah, it could be a good idea. It could be a bad idea. And we're going to have to wait and see. But as me, as an individual person, I would not spend $30, even if they were to, like, if HBO Max were to come out tomorrow and say, hey, we're going to put Tenet out early and you can spend $30 to rent it. I wouldn't spend $30 to rent it. I'm just being honest. I'm already paying the $15 a month to be on the service. 10 to 15, I would consider for a brand new movie that I want to see. 30 to rent, and just to rent, no thank you. Good question, Rob D, because that's definitely a topic I want to talk about. HyperNext13 says, my brother, it's been so long. How are you? Hope you're doing well with school. Sorry if I've been missing for a while. I'm getting used to working. Just started a few days ago at Home Depot. No problem at all, HyperNext13, because guess what? I haven't been around in a while. Again, it's been a full week since I've been on the main channel. So no worries here. Orange Chat Review says, one-way hallways, WTF, so glad I'm not in school anymore. Well, again, it's all under the mindset of we're doing these restrictions now, hoping that cases, not just in our own school, don't flare up and don't become a problem, but also that in our county, if they continue to go down in our county, that we won't have to do those measures for very long, right? So basically, we're doing things to the largest degree that we feel like we should, so that hopefully because every 2 weeks, the diocese is going to reassess and reevaluate how it's working, how it's going, and if we should change anything. Because the hope is that if cases are dropping in our area consistently, and our school is working as a well-oiled machine and we don't have any breakouts of cases or anything, that, hey, after a couple weeks, things are going well. Okay, we can take away the one-way hallways, or, oh, once you get into the classroom, then your mask can come off, right? Then we can start to adapt and change. But that can't happen until we can first do what we're being asked to do well. Because if we don't do it and there is a breakout, right, and then we are discovered to have not been enforcing something, that's when obviously a lot of problems can come our way. So yeah, it's all about keeping kids safe and also, of course, keeping the families of kids safe, right? Because we can talk about mortality rate until we're blue in the face. The fact is that a lot of students oftentimes are in contact with or sometimes live in multi-generational homes, right? And so it's not fair to put a child's family, especially elderly family, at risk, because when you look to the elderly especially, it is very much higher for them as far as the impact it can have on them, right? So that's where it all comes down to. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, says, how do they go about going around school and having lunch? Yeah, so as they're walking around school, again, it's one-way hallways. We're a smaller school, so it's actually easier for that to happen. And so they have 10 minutes to travel between classes. So we've actually extended that time, giving them more time to get there. And most of the kids, at least for me, have had plenty. Like a lot of them actually get to my class after just a few minutes and then are just sitting down, on their phones because, class hasn't started yet and it's their time to, detox and, chill out a little bit, right? And so they have extra time. So they have all the time in the world that they need, and it gives us time too because we have to clean the desks in between each class too. But yeah, otherwise they get around fine. And then for lunch, once they have their lunch and they're sitting, then they can eat and they can take their mask off as long as they're eating. If they get up to go get something else, they got to put the mask back on. If they finish their lunch and everything's thrown away, and they're talking with their friends, it's only 3 of them to a table. They also, at that point, also have to be wearing their mask as well. And again, we're doing this because we want to get to the point more quickly so that we don't have to do anything at all. That would be the best thing. 13th Warrior, what's going on? Thanks for tagging me. Says, learn and be good. Exactly. It's all about that learning. As Andrew Hoyle says, hey, it's Fat Steven Seagal. Damn right, good sir. Fat Steven Seagal, first comment as a member, says, family and puppies come first, then Fat Steven, then the blog. This is very true. Very, very true. Family and pups definitely do come first. As far as the rest of it goes, I'll leave that up to you. And then he then says, I beat up Brian Johnson. Damn right you did. Andrew Hoyle, who's a member, says, last night's Perry Chan video almost killed me. Oh, it was one of the best ones he's done in a long time, right? Because all the ones he did, like all the videos he makes are great. But then there's some that are just like so special. Like they're just so fantastic. And yeah, they were having all of us just in stitches. It was great. Keely Chow, what's going on? I see you in the chat. Mark Lazurth, I see you in the chat as well. I see Stephanie B with her wrench in there. Tina Bojan, what's going on, Tina Bojan? Glad to see you here. Hope you are doing well. Let us see. Dave C, what's going on, Dave C? And yes, I was told about this person. Mr. Peabody's brother saying hello. Well, Dave C, welcome to Asgard. Glad to see you here. And welcome. Jay Stowe is a member, says, what a $30 rental, no way I pass. Yep, I feel the same way. I was saying the same thing about, the Universal rentals for 20 to 25. Even that was too much for me, right? If you have a family, if you have friends over, hey, it makes more sense. But just to have rental of a film for $30 as an individual, nah. Gen X Studios, that's a name. What's going on? Welcome. Tina B says, and you get to then pay $7 more to keep the fake Mulan in your digital library. Disney said it's yours to keep as long as you keep your filthy membership. Oh, Tina. Okay. Tina, thank you very much for clarifying. Okay, so apparently, this is according to the Empress of the Universe, one of my mods, one of my Valks, Tina. She said that according to Disney, you, once you pay the $30, have access to Mulan in your library for as long as you have the membership. So, hey, that's better. $30 to own the film, that's great. Here's the thing, though. It's still tied to the paywall because, as Tina said, you can't then access it through anything else, right? If you get something on iTunes or Google Play or Vudu, right, or Movies Anywhere, oftentimes what will happen is you can connect your various accounts and it will show up in those multiple accounts, oftentimes. This is going to be where, nope, it's only in Disney Plus. And once you get rid of Disney Plus, then it goes away. So, yeah, I mean, again, it is an interesting concept, right? Because some people might view that and say, well, hey, I don't buy physical media, which I think is silly. I think everyone should buy physical media just for, better quality purposes, and also because then you own that copy and they can never touch it. But it is also interesting because think about how there are a lot of families, right? There are a lot of families that are going to be more digitally minded, that are going to be already in the position where they don't buy the DVDs or Blu-rays anymore. They might look to that and say, well, I'm spending the $30, but since I'm already paying so little for the service, in about a year or so, right after 12 months, it really only means I paid an extra bit per month, right? Technically, right? They can try and work that out even in their financial budget to say, well, hey, I have access to this forever. The only issue, of course, becomes, well, keep in mind, you could also wait maybe a couple months, 2-3 months. I don't know how long they're going to make you wait, but eventually that movie is going to be free on Disney Plus, included with your subscription. So I guess, again, it's that mindset of, do you want to access the film now or can you wait? And in this case, I would say most people, I'd imagine, could probably wait, not spend the $30, could even wait to see it in theaters for a smaller price, could wait to see it on demand for a cheaper price, or again, wait for it to be free in their Disney Plus subscription service. But we'll have to wait and see, of course. Rhaegar Targaryen, what's going on? Eric K, I saw you in the chat as well. The chat on YouTube has jumped on me, of course, and unfortunately, it looks like some comments may have been skipped, but I think it actually just got to the point where before someone left another comment. So I'm at 7:09 p.m. in the chat. It's 7:30 where I am, so that means I'm 21 minutes behind in the YouTube chat. All right, now I need to say hello to my DLive fam. What's going on, DLive fam? Mr. Peabody says, my brother is in the chat, Dave C. I saw him. He then says, yeah, the mask restricts air. It's almost the same as wearing a regulator for scuba diving. Just have to get used to working. Harder to breathe. Yeah. And so I could get used to it over time, but then when weekends come and I'm not using it, does that, I mean, I guess for scuba diving, the mindset is, well, you don't scuba dive all the time, and so it doesn't take very long to get used to it. But for me, yeah, it's that weird position to be in where it's, I just don't like feeling sick by the end of the day. And of course, there are going to be times when I can take it off when I'm eating lunch, or if I have an off period, if I'm alone in a classroom, I've been told that I can take it off, or when I'm sipping water, for instance. But yeah, it's not very good. And also, I feel like with the regulator, because I've done scuba diving at least once or twice, I don't remember breathing being that hard. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Phonema, what's going on? Glad to see you in the DLive chat. He then tags me and says, so theoretically, Disney could lie and say they made more money than they actually did. Speaking of HBO Max, is it on Amazon TVs yet? So there's two questions there. So first off, he says, could Disney lie? Basically, Disney could fudge numbers. So do I think that they would claim to have made a certain amount of money, like a specific amount of money? No, because eventually they're going to have to file their earnings, and if there's discrepancies, then that could lead to legal problems. But what I think that they would do instead is that they would give only a certain metric, right? Because you hear this a lot with Netflix. Oh, this was the number one trending movie, right? Or this was the number one trending movie and trending series. And then they'll throw out saying, this was viewed, 1 billion times, or they'll give some random number, right? But that doesn't mean that 1 billion people individually watched that program or watched that movie. That could mean that includes every time you paused and stopped, like every time you paused and played, etc. That counts as a play. If you left and came back, that counts as another play. So I think that what Disney will do to try and spin, if they need to, right? Because if the film makes bank overseas or in the box office, they won't have to. But if for any reason it's not doing well on Disney Plus, there are a lot of other metrics that they don't have to report on accurately with government agencies and taxes, right? Where they could either fudge or over-exaggerate or, give like a half-truth. So I could see them doing that when it comes to their Disney Plus experiment. And then the second question is HBO Max on Amazon TVs yet? Nope. It's not on Amazon TV, and it's not on Roku yet. And HBO Max continues to be idiots. They continue to be idiots. Because, as I've mentioned previously, 70% of people with streaming services, or rather with streaming devices, have a Roku or an Amazon Fire TV product. Most people don't have Apple TV or a Google TV or a Chromecast or a PlayStation, right? Or anything that has casting capabilities. Most people have, as far as streaming devices, Roku and Amazon, because those tend to be the cheapest ones. And also a lot of TVs now are made with the services built in, with Roku built in or with Amazon built in. So it's really dumb of them to do that because they are restricting their base. And with all the projects they have planned, So HBO Max is doing certain things right, and they're doing a lot of things wrong as well. Captain Mr. Roy just resubbed for 12 months and is now on a 12-month sub streak. So thank you very, very much, Captain Mr. Roy, for resubbing up on the 12-month sub streak. He's been a sub here on DLive for a year. Remember, not only can you follow me on DLive, you can also subscribe over there as well. And it helps. It helps the channel out. So thank you very much, Captain Mr. Roy. Adam says, today is Penny's 3rd birthday. Well, happy birthday, Penny. He then says, no, it is not just you with breathing issues while wearing a mask or after wearing one. We were not designed to be made to be in masks 24/7. Yeah. I mean, we're not made that way. We're not used to it. But then here's the other thing too, right? It's one thing to just be walking around or sitting in a classroom or having general meetings in a mask, right? That's something that you can probably get used to pretty quickly. But when you are in front of a class and you are teaching, which usually, any teacher will know this, right? There is a speaking voice and then there is your teacher voice. There is, you are projecting more, you are trying to speak more clearly, you are trying to, you basically have to use more of your strength, right? More of your core. It takes more energy. And so because it takes more effort, it means it's going to take more oxygen. And because there's now this restriction there, it makes it more difficult. Like in the beginning of the day, the first 2 periods, I was sweating. Like I was actually sweating because it was warm in general. And then the mask made it even hotter. And then not being able to breathe also added to that as well. So yeah, not fun. Adam then says, Disney lied about numbers before this, so Disney Plus, they will lie. Well, that's the other thing too, is that, people always say, Disney lied about, Captain Marvel, for instance, right? And I never bought into that because there was never any hard proof. There was never really any hard proof that those numbers were fudged because people kept saying, oh, but I have this evidence that look at these seats and look at how they're blacked out on the theater, but they weren't actually sold. But then you find out, oh, theaters do that because they want to have those seats on reserve just in case the auditorium gets bigger and doesn't want people buying up those safety seats. And then you realize, oh, so it actually wasn't that what was going on. So yeah, you might be referencing the SEC filing, but that was being investigated. That has not actually been confirmed. They've not actually prosecuted them for filing a false report with that. So we can say that we think they have, right? We think they have. And again, it would not surprise me at the very least if they would have. But if those are the things you're talking about, we have not gotten confirmation on those yet. Phonema says, that's what I thought about HBO Max. Just wanted to make sure. Absolutely. No problem. Adam says, my glasses always fog up. Yeah, absolutely. Glasses fog up all the time. And I feel bad for my students that have glasses because even if they're just sitting down, not doing much, still same thing. It's harder for them to see. And then Adam says, Disney lied about gift cards. Remember? No. So that they were being investigated for that, right? So there was an SEC filing looking into them double dipping. So again, an investigation was being done. I have not heard anything since then about whether they found that to be true or whether anything happened as far as punishment goes. So that was what they were being looked into for because apparently they were double counting they basically counted the $30 someone would spend on a gift card to give to someone, and then they would also count the $30 again when it was being used. Right. And so it inflated their numbers. But once again, that has, I don't think, been confirmed yet. If it has been, please give me an article that actually specifies that. All right, back to my YouTube peeps. It is 7:09 p.m. in the chat. So as I said, now I'm about 30 minutes behind in the YouTube chat, so please act accordingly. Tina B says, Ryan Reynolds bent the knee 1,000 times over, so that is why Alex is done with R.I.P.D. I'm done with Deadpool then. Yeah, he did. He had to apologize on behalf of him and his wife for having having their marriage ceremony at a plantation house. And I'm thinking it to myself, no. It's now at this point in time not being used for nefarious means. It likely is a beautiful location and would be a beautiful place to host a service. Now, would I have my wedding there? No, because I have different standards. But should I think that anyone should be canceled for having their wedding there? No, I don't. Unless they were doing things that were mocking the things that happened at a particular place, then no. That's what I would say. Andrew Hoyle, as a member, says, how soon will they start adding rental prices for all their Disney Plus releases if enough people are stupid to rent Mulan? So again, it looks like, according to Tina, that it is a purchase in this case. So here's the thing. They're not going to start charging for stuff that is already free. Basically, this is a test that's being done for the first time by any major studio to see, can we, behind a paywall, charge extra for what we deem to be premium content, which in the market for movies is brand new releases. So Mulan was originally meant to have a theatrical release, right? It was made with a huge budget. So I think their mindset is, can we continue in this new marketplace of mostly streaming, continue to make these large, giant budget movies and still make our returns on those investments, seeing that movie theaters themselves were already going downhill year by year, and after the pandemic are in very poor position to ever recover, right? Or at least if they do ever recover, it'll be very slowly and they'll never reach the levels that they had once reached previously. So I think that they're not looking at doing this to all content or content that was already available, but to new stuff only. Fat Steven Seagal beat up Ryan Johnson says, how will Disney get $30 if people rip and upload Mulan to the interwebs? And that's one of the risks that they're taking, right? And that's the reason why some people say, it's going to be a loss because it's going to get ripped more easily. But remember, it is harder now to rip movies that are behind a paywall, right? Because you have to get access to it, for one.